Welcome to Polish House Davos 2023. I am Magdalena Petryniak and I'm honored to host the Polish stage. It is the fourth time when Polish House is opening its doors and stage for business discussions, critical discussions, especially in these turbulent times, but also creating space for business encounters and networking. The main theme of Polish House this year is Poland Bridge to Freedom, which emphasizes Polish humanitarian help to Ukrainian refugees, but also stresses the fact that Poland takes a strategic position stretched between Western and Eastern economies. We also tackle important issues of bringing foreign investments to Poland. That's why I'm very, very pleased to welcome you to this first discussion panel in our house in Davos during World Economic Forum. And without further ado, I will pass the mic to Mr. Dr. Grzegorz Cimochowski, who is the partner at KPMG, who will lead this first discussion panel. Dr. Cimochowski, I pass it to you.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very distinguished set of panelists representing Poland's leading financial institutions, representing Europe's leading out-of-home delivery platform that was risen from a small startup in Poland in 1999, two American Fortune 100 companies that do not introduction for sure, and last but not least, a global alternative investment manager with focus on PE and not only. So from my left, Tomasz Kulik, PZU.
Good morning.
Krzysztof Krawczyk, CVC Capital.
Good morning, everyone.
Mark Lafran, Honeywell.
Good morning, everyone.
Loic Tassel, P&G.
Good morning, everyone.
Rafał Brzoska, InPost.
Good morning.
And Jerzy Kwieciński, PKO.
Good morning.
And without further ado, sorry, I forgot, and I'm your host, of course, Grzegorz Cimochowski from KPMG, and I'll be very much enjoying this discussion. And without further ado, let me start with a quote of a person that couldn't make it today, couldn't arrive for obvious reasons. It was Winston Churchill who in 1945, when I think working on United Nations, said, "Never waste a good crisis." So that's what he said. And on that note, I have a question to our panelists. Name number one and number two opportunity that you see in the upcoming years for your institution related to regionalization and other mega trends that you will see coming as a result of those two disruptive years and maybe some other things that will unfold this year. Tomasz Kulik.
If we think about regionalization, what comes to our minds is definitely a better control of supply chain. We can always speak about other factors like potential reduction of costs, better stock management, and quicker time to market. But let me give you an example from my current company, PZU. So very specific company, not producing, not providing goods, but services. And I would like to illustrate this case with a very simple example of motor claims handling process we are all familiar with. This is the process that is very heavily dependent on accessibility of spare parts component for car fixing. If we could potentially, because of regionalization, reduce the duration of this process that was significantly extended by last 3 years, we could save a very huge amount of money. And the market right now is estimated to be around 20 billion of zlotys in Poland only. So if we could reduce these disturbances, if we could reduce the period, duration of the process, we could make a huge savings that potentially could be translated into lower prices, higher returns, so higher taxes, so all potential stakeholders should benefit from. So this is an example of a very obvious but maybe not very intuitive example of regionalization that companies providing financial services also could benefit from.
Thank you very much. And now Krzysztof Krawczyk, CBC Capital.
Well, our DNA is being local. Out of the entire universe of private equity, we have probably the highest number of local offices led by local partners, which the objective is to stay very close to local companies and foster their ambitions to grow, to build value, to grow internationally. So if the regionalization trend indeed happens, which is still a question mark, our setup is actually the one to help local companies grow and flourish.
Thank you very much. Mark Lafran.
Yeah, hi,
Honeywell.
nice to be here. Firstly to say, the region's very important to Honeywell. We have 7,500 people over the Central and Eastern European countries. We have 4 R&D sites, 9 factories, and a large commercial organization. So certainly we're interested in looking what the opportunities are. When I'm looking at where the opportunities are, I think it's good to look at what does society need, the governments and the people, and kind of where's the money going, where's the investment. And particularly, I think now when you look at any opportunity for a country, where is there the opportunity to add real value? So intellectual property or services revenue that's going to really change the GDP of the country, i.e. people on average will earn more and therefore spend more within the country. So when I look at that, 3 areas come really strongly to mind for me. First is defense. I think we've sadly learned the absolute importance of defense. And Poland and a number of the countries are right on the front line of that. But also, Poland has an incredible aviation valley down in the south, also around Warsaw area, and also in the north. So that would be the first area. Digitalization is the second one. And it's been incredible. And, my previous job was in Microsoft, and I was involved in the $1 billion investment in Poland. Google also made their investments. It's absolutely incredible, the capabilities that are here in Poland and also in the region. So I think those first 2 look really like good opportunities. I think the third area, where if you look where the money is going to go, is in sustainability. And I don't just mean simply in the ESG part of the reporting for the companies, but I think in the hardware and software that's absolutely going to be needed within every organization, within every company, within any industry, to make sure they reduce the carbon footprint. And I think that's the third area of opportunity, which, is still in its real infancy. But if you look at what's happened to support the GDP from the aviation valley or from the digital valley, imagine what could be possible in sustainability. One final comment on it. If you look at the EU recovery funds and the other EU funds around sustainability, there's going to be something like 600 billion euros spent. I think the question is, how does Poland get a disproportionate percentage of that 600 billion euros?
That's a question we're going to answer today, and not that shortly.
Also in the next session, they're going to discuss
as well. And now Loic Tassel, P&G.
Okay.
What is the opportunity that you see?
So good morning, everyone. I lead P&G for Europe. P&G stands for Procter & Gamble. You might not know the name of the company. That's okay, as long as you're using our products, which I know all of you probably are doing every day. Ariel, Pampers, Gillette, Pantene, just to name a few. We entered Poland just as soon as the countries open up, and Poland has become, it's a well-kept secret, one of our largest sources of employment today. We have 4,500 colleagues in Poland, direct, 3,000 contractors. That makes Poland our second site in Europe, just after Germany, and number 5 globally, which is something that is, a source of pride for all of our Polish colleagues. And actually, we have passed a little bit the debate on regionalization, because we are using Polish talents for the entire European operations. We have 3 plants. One of them is in Łódź, Gillette plant, the second largest in the world. exporting in more than 50 countries. We have our planning center service, 1,500 colleagues in Warsaw. Average age is 28 years old, okay, which is a sign of vitality, and they are leading the entire supply chain for all of us in Europe, all our plants, our suppliers, just based from Warsaw. So it's a fantastic success story that we have created over the years, leveraging Poland's solid place in the EU as the foundation to use Poland as the backbone of many of our operations in Europe. If I had one wish or one opportunity, it's very simple, is continue to educate a very talented workforce. That is making the difference. We are recruiting every year 500 new fresh graduates from the universities. We need that strong influx of young, highly skilled, highly motivated talent that makes Poland, for me today, one of the most vibrant places we have all over Europe.
Thank you very much, Loic. So we move from one success story to another. Now, what's your perspective, Rafał Brzostka?
Good morning once again. So I think the answer to your question has got two dimensions. So being an entrepreneur, hard not to say that we are a player in such a market that is like connecting all the new modern trends. So sustainability is of course one very obvious one, but e-commerce growth, digitalization, and transformation of the physical retail into online retail naturally is driving our opportunities. Being a player in 9 countries, we are trying to tap in each of them the real value that we may share with the end users. So this is a kind of, obvious thing. But the second opportunity is a global one. But I think each of us, we may benefit from the second opportunity. The second opportunity will be created once we win the war. Because the result of the war in Ukraine will most probably redefine everything. It's already redefining that the energy crisis is redefining how the countries are thinking about the renewable energy, for instance, how we want to be independent. Cheaper and more green energy will fuel and boost a lot of businesses. If we fail the war, all our plans will go bust. So I think the most important thing here is we have to win the war. The Western world, Poland and Ukraine, we have to win the war. And then we can talk about business.
Thank you very much. And last but not least, the largest Polish bank. So what do you see opportunities? Jerzy Kwieciński, Bank PKO.
Of course, I will start with regionalization, but I will not continue on that because colleagues have said a lot, about that. But regionalization is also with much bigger manufacturing sector, in Poland. Many businesses are moving to Poland. Many factories are moved from Asia to Europe. We as Poland, we as the region, we are benefiting a lot from that, and of course our bank, because we are the strongest in financing the so-called large corporate sector. So for large companies, we account for about a quarter of the market. So these are important our clients. So that is obvious. It's good that that's happening. We can see the figures during last 2 years. The manufacturing production in Poland increased by 20%, so by 1/5. The exports even more. So that is a clear signal for that, and that will continue. But the other 2 factors which I want to mention. One is connected to what's happening in the Europe. So with this big Green Deal strategy, till 2050, because a lot of money will be accounted for that, not only from European funds, but in general from the financial markets. I believe that in 10 years, every second euro, every second zloty will be related to ESG. So that means that also our financing financing from the financial sector, from the banking sector, will have to switch to this new to this new mode. And this is opportunity because also, as colleague mentioned, about 1/3 of the current EU financing, so in this financial perspective, will be flown, to that area. So that is big opportunity, and also because this is acyclical because this year next year we will have a slowdown, but these investments will continue. So sustainability and this EU financing, both from the cohesion funds and also from the recovery fund, will be important, and I believe that Poland will join this program pretty soon. And the third element is the one which Mr. Brzoska mentioned. I also believe that for Poland this will be big opportunity to participate. No, I mean not only in the recovery of Ukraine, which will be huge task. I think the biggest, in Europe. We haven't witnessed such a big reconstruction program, even in Europe in the recent decades, because it will cost hundreds of billions of euro, but also the fact that Ukraine will be joining the European Union. So that is even important. So another big economy will join, the European Union. But the precondition for that, as Rafał Brzoska mentioned, is to win the war. So this is why that is so important for Europe. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing all the opportunities. Now, before we draft and envision Poland 2030, let me throw at our panelists and all of you a few numbers, actually 4 sets of numbers. First one is 20%. That's Poland's share in number of foreign-owned jobs created in Europe. That's clearly above our weight, punching above our weight. Second is 1,700 and 400,000. 1,700 is number of shared service centers, BPOs, GBSs, IT centers, and R&D centers. In Poland, 400,000 is number of people employed there. Third one is a ranking, which is number 4. According to Reuters Maersk ranking, Poland stands as number 4 location for sourcing, nearshoring, reshoring, you name it. And that's behind Germany, of course, but ahead of US, ahead of China, and ahead of Mexico. And you might question how come? Well, the authors claim it's because of transportation costs, time to market, availability of talent, and trade bloc membership. And last but not least, within those shared service centers, all the centers, IT centers, the largest share is obviously IT. That's more or less 45%, close to 50%. The rest is SSCs, GBSs, and BPOs. And on a personal note, having consulting and technology practice at KPMG, I have to admit that vast majority of engagement, an increasing number we do, is actually not in Poland, is in Europe and US. So that confirms the fact that we're actually exporting talent, that our small country is not capable of making full use of this talent. Maybe it will change. Let's see. So let's move fast forward to 2030. Let's think where we are heading, and let's envision we are reading a headline from an online information provider that starts, Poland has fully utilized its potential in the last decade, and now is, and what is Poland? And on that note, I will refer to Krzysztof Krawczyk, whose job is actually to make profitable bets on future trends. So we better listen to him because he got to be right.
Sorry, I left my crystal ball downstairs. But I want to pick up on 2 trends that my colleagues mentioned. So we all know why Poland in the past. However, that has led to productivity of Polish economy being high 30s, low 40s of German economy's productivity. Yes, we had access to affordable, skilled labor, but that will be changing. In the last normal year, 2019, the level of investments in Poland was at the lowest level since 90s, 70% of GDP. Number of software developers is 20% lower per million inhabitants, 20% lower than in Czechia, 25% lower than in Germany. So the key theme to get there in 2030 is automation, is digital transformation. And there are several layers of that. This is how we make money. The two examples of our investments, Żabka and PKP Energetyka, is actually multiplying capital expenditure, bringing the best cutting-edge technology to these companies and moving them from completely analog world to a digital one. There are two foundations to help businesses run on this trend. First of all, creating a favorable climate for investments. And transparent, predictable regulatory environment is absolutely key for that. The reason why in the last normal year, entrepreneurs did not invest to increase productivity, to leapfrog into the digital area is uncertainty. The other element is education. We need to keep up with the demand for our talent. We have fantastic software engineers, but we also need people from technology sector who understand business, who are a sort of intermediary between tech and business. So that's one trend. The other is ESG. You know, we absolutely live in the world of scarcity of everything. Next year we will be hitting structural deficits of access to lithium and nickel. In 2030, we will hit shortages of phosphorus, which everyone knows how that may impact the food scarcity globally. In 2040, we will hit the limits of access to water. So everything is in scarcity, and it's no longer a matter of ESG being a couple of pages in the report. It really needs to be core to the strategy in order to survive. And a lot of businesses learned hard way last year that being unsustainable means unsustainable. So these are the key themes in order to get to a successful future of Poland and be amongst the leaders, catch up with those that we always aspire to, like Germany, for instance.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. As long as we are not hitting the limits of our brain and mind, I'm not worried, and hope we are not. But actually, on that note, Mark, having worked for Glaxo and for Microsoft and now Honeywell, you know Poland and Central Europe very well. So what does Poland stand for? When you look at 2030, where do you see Poland? How do you envision the future?
I'll probably start where I finished my last comment. If you remember, I was talking about the three areas, and we got also some other great inputs on that. The first one, the defense area, and I think it's obvious, and that's very much about deep engineering. So also this comment about the education and the quality of the people in the country needs to be absolutely correct. Digitalization, already going well, can only go better. So I think we can be very excited about the opportunities that we're going to have there. I think finally, in the sustainability area, this is where the excitement is. You're going to need a mixture of the hardware deep engineering and the software capability, because to deliver on clean energy, you need to have both sides of that together. And I think if I had a wish for 2030, it would be that the area of sustainability within Poland, so building the capabilities, building the consulting organizations. You talked about your company, if you look at Accenture, if you look at EY, if you look at the large amounts of capability that we have in the country. And actually, I think it's a strength that those organizations are delivering for all over the world. Because I think when you do those consulting projects, you're being paid from some other country. That money's flowing straight back into Poland, straight back into the GDP, straight back into people then spending it on more goods and services within the country. So I think this is a great strength. So I think that third leg is what's needed to be worked on. However, it needs a lot of government participation. You know, the energy companies and a lot of the organizations within Poland are also state-owned. So I think there needs to be a partnership between the government, between the organizations who can deliver on the capabilities on the sustainability side, and of course the educational institutions, because that's a key part in this triangle. So yeah, I think it could be very exciting, those three legs of the stool together. And I think it could be a very exciting future.
Excellent. Thank you, Mark and Krzysztof, for inspiring vision. But before we get there, we need to answer at least two questions. And first one would relate to how do we compare against other European countries, and who is the best to answer that question than Rafał Brzoska, who created Europe's leading out-of-home delivery partner from a small startup, 1999. It was a bumpy rope. We all know it. I mean, you know,
very bumpy.
We know it much better than us, but we heard about it. You operate now in 9 countries. How does Poland compare? What are we good at? What are we not?
You know, it's hard to answer just within 1 minute, but I think
you have 5.
We can be very proud of one element. Poland is becoming a challenger in more and more areas. Sometimes it's not visible for all of us, being a consumer, but I think Krzysztof rightly said that, for instance, the transformation that one of their investment portfolio company, Żabka, is making in the digital transformation of a pretty boring business, which is a physical retail, especially based on small convenience stores, which is not convenient, frankly speaking. And you see what InPost is doing, and people literally are amazed, not only with the concept, they are amazed once they try. So almost no one knows that today in Poland, based on our December's numbers, one delivery to our InPost locker decreases the carbon footprint 25 times than door-to-door delivery. When you look at the energy crisis and all the issues associated with that, you see clearly that we should follow that path and proliferate that idea across the markets. And when we entered into new geographies like France, for instance, we are very afraid that French population that used to visit their retail stores to pick up their parcels, they will simply stick to that habit, and it will be very difficult to convert them into automation. How surprised we've been when we noticed within first 2 quarters that they are changing their mind and switching to our lockers 3 times faster than the Polish society 5 years ago, when we've been at the same level of the development.
Wow.
So in December, we had to cap our capacity in the UK because the demand was 5 times higher than our capacity. So not to damage the end user's experience, we simply had to say no to many merchants in terms of their needs. So in my opinion, Poland, Polish companies, entrepreneurs, today is the moment where Europe is really searching for the new developments that will be transformational to their current economy. So I think that InPost, Żabka, few other examples, less exposed to the end users, because this is the most challenging. I'm receiving emails, LinkedIn messages from UK users, French users, and other people saying that their parcel was missed, so it's so easy to just directly go to the CEO, help me with that. But, you know, this is something what we did and we are doing on a daily basis in Poland, how to really make people happy with the very modern delivery. And when we are looking at Germany, we are not in Germany yet, but we see that, sorry to say that, the most advanced economy in Europe, in many, many dimensions, they are lagging massively. I think you've experienced many times just, you know, going by car through Germany, we used to 4G, 5G, and what do we have in Germany? Edge. So we see that there are many fields where Polish companies may literally conquer foreign markets. It's not easy, it's very challenging, time-consuming, but it's doable, believe me.
Thank you very much. And now a question to Loic Tassel, heading P&G in Europe. You already mentioned, you noticed Poland. That's an important integral part of your operations. What do we stand for? What are we good at? What are we not good at? What is your perspective?
So, great question. So we have made, in favor of Poland, two big choices over the last decade, which now are going to come for challenge again. Okay. So the first choice was to say our commercial operations, total Central Europe, which includes Ukraine, Baltics, Hungary, Czech, Slovakia, are being run from our Warsaw office. And that's extremely important as a choice, and that will continue because we're having the talent there and the geographical presence to keep it going. We also made the choice, as I was saying before, to say our total European facilities for product supply, GBS and IT, 3,500 colleagues, is run from Poland. But you know, we're a very international borderless company. We reevaluate those choices periodically, and we're probably going to come in that phase again. And it's very clear, Poland has competitors, including competitors like Romania, who was not on the map 10 years ago. And Romanian fresh graduates are also highly educated. The cost of salary is much lower than Poland. So I think it's a fair question to say, will we keep our GBS IT services in Poland, or will we relocate them in Romania? Just as an example. What can continue to play in favor of Poland are then interesting questions. The first one is very clear, which is a government responsibility to continue to be a good citizen of EU, which has been not necessarily the case, that's my point of view, over the last few years, and is clearly a cause of concern. The other mission from the government is a little bit more also of fiscal stability, which also has been a concern over the last few years.
Not only in Poland.
Not only in Poland, certainly, but more in Poland than in other places. Those are facts, okay? So I'm talking it in a very frank manner, but those are realities that as business leaders are taken into account. So that probably is a little bit of a message which I'm passing on to the highest level of Polish authorities. Be a good player in the EU, have a little bit more fiscal stability, will play a big role in keeping Poland attractive. The other important point, as I was mentioning before, is continuation of highly skilled workforce. There is emerging competition that is also skilled and has a much lower labor cost. The answer is not in lower labor cost in Poland. The answer is continuously upskilling, engineering, digital skills to keep the edge on the premiumness that Poland had 10 years ago is getting a little bit more challenged those days. By those two focus areas, I think Poland will continue to have a central point after Germany, maybe equal to Germany for the next 10 years. By moving down, the gravity center could move to other parts of the central and eastern countries.
Thank you very much, Loic, for this honest contribution. And now we move to things that we control, potential risks, but risks that we control, that are within our control, meaning in Poland. I'm not trying to move to geopolitical risk factors, which are a bit beyond. So on that question, what are the internal risks within our control that support this positive scenario? I think I'll refer to Jerzy Kwieciński and Tomasz Kulik. I think quite a lot of valuable input we already heard from Krzysztof and from Loic. So over to you.
Thank you very much. You know, one of the risks is the labor force. You know, because we are in different situation than Poland had when we were joining the European Union, or or even before. That time we had big unemployment and very big surplus of the labor force. Now this is on the other edge, because I mean we have pretty healthy labor labor market, but the demand is growing. The demand is growing, and demography is not changing. So one of the positive side of the very dramatic moments of the of the last months was the influx of Ukrainian to Poland. Of course, mainly there were women and children, but some of them entered the labor market. So that had very positive impact, not only on the economy because of the consumption, but also on the labor market. So I think that in the coming months, quarters, and years, the labor market will be the key importance, and what is related to that also is the education. My colleagues mentioned that we should continue put focus on IT education, because the demand for that will be not the same. It will be even growing, and still we have very big competition from the other markets. I mean, these people can very easily move from one country to another. Another risk which I think we as the financial sector, we as banks we will mitigate, is the access to the capital. This year, next year, we will have the time on relatively high interest rates. So for the companies which will want to use financing in zlotys, the cost of this financing will be relatively high. Companies which are present not only on Polish but on European markets, which can earn money in euro, these are in much better situation because they can access financing in euro, and we as banks, we provide such a financing, and we have seen this behavior in the recent months very much so. I mean, many companies which could use either euro or zloty financing, they were simply switching to euro financing, provided that they had revenues in euro. So I think that this trend will continue in the coming quarters and years. So that means Europeanization, or in fact internationalization of the Polish companies, which will enable them to access financing in euro. So I would mention the two elements as the internal one. I'm not saying about the external ones which we mentioned, like war in the Ukraine. I mean, black swans, the new ones which may come up in the coming years. Nobody knows. But what is positive, and this is my my last observation, that Polish economy and Polish companies have really very well managed with this crisis, and in fact we as the economy, we have benefited in fact from this dramatic changes in the recent quarters and years. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and hopefully we are to benefit even more in the future if this positive scenario realizes. Tomasz Kulik, please at you.
Definitely, we have a lot of potential and foundations to build on. We mentioned very well developing and resilient economy, talents, but requiring still investment into education. So all this that really promote or may promote even more the market from the perspective of new investors in capital. Very strong, very big stock exchange that provide an alternative for raising capital. So these are historically and still are our competitive position and competitive advantages. We should promote and build an awareness amongst potential investors regarding opportunities to invest into Poland. This is especially important right now, as we are a very specially positioned. We are a frontline country with all its risks, obvious risks, but also with obvious potential benefits related with the post-war period. So probably this is right now the best possible moment to invest into Poland, into Polish economy, but other conditions must also be satisfied. And when we talk about all these other conditions, what I mean is definitely everything that we could classify as ease of doing business. We have to think about reducing barriers of entry. We have to think about everything that is concentrated on time and money, how to provide it to potential investors in a way that they perceive it as a potential advantage, something that they really are concentrated on. We have to, and that was already mentioned, think about how to make our system, tax system, more transparent, more predictable, more stable, not surprising us on a regular basis. This is also a very important parameter. And probably last but not least, over recent years, Poland has been perceived as a perfect place to invest because of attractiveness of the labor market due to its cost element. Right now, it's not any longer the case, and if we want to win it again, we have to build on another foundations. And I think that digitalization, innovations are these factors that we have a huge potential to build on. Today, Poland is a testing ground for very many companies, like international IT companies. We have very modern banking sector that can support startups, newcomers. So we have potential to support, but we really have to think about the environment, how to create an environment that is really supportive, that is propitious for all these potential new investors to really invest in Poland. And I think that if we concentrate on all these factors, if we invest into digital exclusion of people in Poland, because we are developing very fast, but not in a kind of equal way, we could potentially start another wave, another era of this international investment in Poland. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else wants to add?
Yeah, maybe a comment on education. I think what's incredible about Poland is the regionalization spread of the talent. I saw this amazing graph a few years ago, which was all the countries in Europe, and then the percentage of the top talent that comes from the universities that's in the capital city. And most countries actually are around 60–75% are in the capital city. And Poland was down, it's a good thing, was it 25%? And what the reason for that is because across the 12 to 14 other major cities around the country, there's incredible Europe-leading, world-leading universities in a whole number of different disciplines. So I think what's in our control and what's really important is to continue to build the regional infrastructure in all the ways that that's important, for international companies to invest, all the infrastructure you need for the people to live and work there happily. And to continue to do that, I think then that will really help, because there's going to be a limit in Warsaw. There's probably going to be a limit in Krakow, where you already see, you know, a lot already happening. You know, Poznan, Wrocław, Gdansk, many, many, many more. So I think that's one of the ways. And by doing that, you know, the wider GDP multiplier that you'll then get in the areas around there, which will also drive more services and better quality of life for everyone. I think that will be super important. So I would say that's something to look at. Secondly, if I could just make one other point. You know, I first came to Poland 20 years ago. I've lived here for 10 years in total. I last came back 7 years ago. I'm obviously, I'm a Polish resident. I could not be more proud of Poland's position within the European Union and within the global geopolitical environment when the moment really mattered, when Russia invaded Ukraine. Poland spoke truth to power about what was happening with energy policies, particularly energy policies in other countries in the EU. Poland had been talking about that for about the last decade, and also opened the borders. I mean, I live in the middle of Warsaw, and you know, in the first few days, I walked down to the train station, you know, Warsaw train station. The infrastructure that had been set up, I mean, I cried that day when I went down there and saw what was happening. But what the Polish government did in order, and Polish society did, to open their doors to help manage that, and then how Poland has stood shoulder to shoulder. I mean, you've said it's one of the most important challenges that we've got, how Poland stood shoulder to shoulder with Ukraine, supplying everything that they needed, working with the Americans and other countries. So, you know, I just want to say I think Poland's position within the EU as a leader and as a partner that can be trusted is absolutely impeccable, and long may it continue, and I'm proud to be a resident here.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you very much. Krzysztof, you wanted
just a quick one, because education seems to be a recurring theme of this panel. Japanese government realized that with increasing life expectancy, people who are 25, they're out of this educational system, they are roughly in a quarter of their lifetime. That means that the educational systems, not just in Poland, but globally, need to change dramatically to let people reinvent themselves. When they are 50, they are halfway through. They should be able to find themselves again in the job market and feel relevant, especially as economies are accelerating, industries are dramatically changing. We will see a lot of businesses or a lot of industries 5 years from now being totally different than they are today. So the big challenge, but also an opportunity, is to structurally change the way we educate ourselves.
Thank you very much. When I hear that, it's music to my ears, because I tend to believe that retirement is probably one of the most stupid ideas of the previous century. But there are not that many people who think the same way. Now it's time for the. Sorry, you wanted to add?
Yeah. I wanted to grab on this comment concerning the EU. I would like to tell you, don't worry about European Union, because Polish society is so committed that I'm sure no politicians would like to to make a suicide to do differently than the society wants. So I think that our commitment of Polish nation, of the society to the European membership is really very strong. We have benefited from that. I think we can see that we contribute a lot, to Europe and to the world by by this fact. So I mean, as always, there are some discussions. I would say that is normal. That is one thing. Second thing is about financing. Which you mentioned, and also about fiscal stability. That's extremely important for the government. But I was sitting in the chair of the Minister of Finance, and I can tell you this is not only in the government but in the government structures. They are clever people. They will not allow not only the budget but the economy to fall into troubles. Maybe the communication from the government, what they are doing, their results is not as the market would like to see that. But I would say the foundation is really pretty strong. And if you look at the figures, at the indebtedness, budget deficit, how the government is managing, how is financing different increases needs which are rising. I think, and that despite who is at the steer of the government, what the political force, I think we manage that pretty well. And everything what we have said, I would say it's extremely promising. Of course, they are not easy times, and every year we will have, a new challenge, a new black swan, and we have to use to that. Simply that every year we will have, a new unexpected environment to which we will have to adapt to. We as the businesses, we as the society.
So when we expect the unexpected, they become less unexpected going forward. It doesn't surprise us. So it's time for the final round of questions or question. And the question is as following. If you were to name one thing that you don't do right now, but you will do in this decade, so until 2030, what would that be? And with that question, I was trying to ask Loic Tassel, but he didn't catch my eye contact. So I was thinking he was maybe needs some more time, but I don't think so. I think you are ready to answer.
No, it's a lovely question. I mean, again, P&G has like a love affair with Poland over the last 2 decades. I'm hoping it's going to continue this way because I think it has been very beneficial for our company for sure, but also for the thousands of young talents we help educate and bring to a higher level of education and professional employability. So that's extremely close to our heart. Like you were mentioning, I think at a moment where the peace will happen in Ukraine, there will be no country in a better place, and probably with a stronger will and desire to make it happen, to be part of the reconstruction of Ukraine. So if I do fast forward, the level of continuous investments and support we are ready to give Poland with those 2 perspectives in mind should make us another very happy and enjoyable decade. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, Rafał Brzoska. Obviously, you are a traded company, so you cannot say things which would affect your share price, but we can stay at a very high level.
I will surprise you. So being an entrepreneur, you never, at least based on my experience, you never have a situation where you are like complaining that, yeah, I could have done that better, or at least that's my personal experience. Whatever happened in the past was needed. Mm-hmm. All the pitfalls, all the bumpy roads. So people very often ask me a question, why you went into that stupid competition against state-owned company, or why you've took part in a bid for the Ministry of Justice letter deliveries. Without that, I will never have a nationwide coverage because this was the must for the tender. Then I would never have ability to pivot into domestic parcel business, and I would never have chance to create InPost as it is today. So it's very simple. By heart, if you're an entrepreneur by heart, you know what's right, And even if you are sometimes, you know, discovering uncharted waters, you go for it. Because the opportunity is not the opportunity that all the people see, but the opportunity is where all the people are blind. So this is the moment to invest to be winning in 2030, irrespective of all the challenges around us. So sorry to say that, but I'm absolutely fully going into every single idea I believe will be a winning idea for 2030, not waiting, you know, 2 or 3 years to be in a much better comfort zone than today.
And what is the next stupid things you're going after?
We will disrupt the payment systems in Europe.
Oh, wow. Wow, doesn't sound that stupid. So maybe Tomek Kulik.
I wouldn't like to resonate the voice of my colleague, so I would like to add 2 more things. First of all, it's promotion. So from the corporate local perspective through the country and region. Definitely we as PZU being rather very local company with less than 10% of revenue being located elsewhere than in Poland, we have to start doing more business with other global companies. We have to start selling our products through their distribution channels. And I'm not talking about only investments, not only about insurance products, but investment products, everything that we could find as an extraordinary product that we could potentially build a higher market for and promote Poland as a right place for doing business. And in this promotion, I think that what we could use more our local success stories, like the one that we have today in the room, to simply present all these possibilities, but not by talking, but by experience. And I think that this is it. Everything else was just covered.
Yeah, walk the talk. So Jerzy, now that you know that InPost is invading you in the payments sector,
Yeah,
how about you entering the out of home delivery or other ideas?
No, I was curious about this statement. That is the fact, but he's not the only one. Many tech companies are trying to do so, but that what we have as bank. Which is, I think, a very strong thing for us, so that we are really very safe. So this is what counts of people, and that we are very stable. So we are on the market for many years. I know that that sounds a little bit for an incumbent, and of course it's good that we have the competition, but I think we have to have such a competition. But that is not something what I wanted to say now. What I think we should do, we as the economy, we as the financial institution, we as the business sector, is to strengthen our business and economic relation with Ukraine. Why is that so important? I mean, Ukraine is our second large country besides Germany. But our trade with Germany is almost 30%. The trade with Ukraine is about 2%. Of course, Poland is in the European Union. Ukraine is outside. But I think we should strengthen the wish of Ukraine to be a member of the European Union, strengthen our economic relation, and this big reconstruction process, which will start even before the war ends up. Why? Because some investments will have to be materialized, before that. So I think that this is something what we have to do, and we as Poland, we are doing that. For example, I mean, KUKE is still present, is still providing some financing for not very many, but for some products, for Ukraine. So this is one thing. And second thing, which I think we should do, which we haven't done so much, especially in the financial sector and especially in the banking sector, is to make closer our cooperation with the equity markets. Why? We are mainly providing debt. I mean, and what is very much needed for innovation and for new is to provide much more equity. We have, our model of financing development is more like continental. We are saying not the Anglo-Saxon one, but we need partners. But I think that we as the financial sector, we have to have more equity instruments for the economy. I mean, we have partners. I mean, CVC is a good example, for us. But I'm pretty sure that many more Polish companies would be growing much faster if they had easier access to equity. Debt we can provide, but without equity we cannot finance many projects.
Thank you very much. And over to CVC Capital, Krzysztof. So what?
I froze when you said equity because I thought Pekao will be disrupting CVC now. We are investing other people's money, so and crashing majority of our funds are actually future pensioners. So that's a lot of responsibility to spend every single euro, which means that we are not necessarily in a revolutionary industry. So we'll probably keep doing what we are doing, which is building better businesses. We are consistent in buying good businesses and making them great, investing in automation, in digital transformation, upskilling our managers, our employees. So that will continue. Where I have my personal goal is to help Polish entrepreneurs grow outside of Poland. We have fantastic businesses which are 90% plus focused on our home country because we have 38 million consumers, and why bother? But there are fantastic entrepreneurs, in this panel out there who have passion, great product, great idea, vision, and we want to help them build international presence. Because this agility of Polish managers, Polish entrepreneurs is indeed something that can disrupt other markets and help Polish businesses leapfrog into the next phase of development in many industries.
Thank you very much. Keep my fingers crossed. And Mark, closing.
Yeah, I mean, I work for a company that believes in local investment to drive opportunities both for us but also for the country. So I don't think it's going to surprise you to know the three areas that I want to focus on. Defence, we have an MOU with PGZ that's, I think, super important to us, to the country, and to the defence. So I want to follow through with that. Hopefully that will bring investment and future really high-skilled jobs. In the area of digitalization, absolutely continue, find more opportunities there. And as I said on sustainability, I think we're just at the start of the journey. So, I hope to bring the first, real opportunities in the very short term and then grow it to be, we had we've got the aviation valley, we've got the digital valley, and let's hope that, we and my company and many others all partnering together, we can really build this sustainability valley of capabilities and competencies. And I think that will be a fantastic future.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, Poland clearly punches above its weight in business services, manufacturing, IT. It has abundant talent and I think quite a unique geopolitical advantages that have become clear in the last 2 years also. So let me say, let's not waste this opportunity because we owe it to our children, we owe it to the economy, not only Polish economy, but also European and global economy. And we also owe it to our great planet that we live on. And let me ask you to give a big round of applause to our great panelists. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you very much.
Grzegorz, thank you very much for this super insightful, I think quite a positive debate. The three main themes I catch up on was sustainability, strengthening the pool of talent, and of course, a lot of disruption and innovation. And all these three themes will be covered during today's panels. We will follow shortly on the next panel on sustainable energy, which will start at 12. The following panel will tackle the digital innovators and challengers, and the last panel of the day in the afternoon will tackle the talent. So that was a beautiful introduction to the whole day. Thank you very much, and I would like to invite you to come back at 11:30 for the official opening of the Polish Day by Deputy Prime Minister Jacek Sasin. Thank you very much.